Welcome to Travel Buddy, presented by Switchfly. In this podcast, we talk about all things travel, rewards, and loyalty. Let's get to it.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Travel Buddy by Switchfly. Today, we are talking about solo travel, soft adventure, and what some might call the main character trip. And we have a special guest to talk to us about this, named Lucy Mui, who oversees a lot of the supplier partnerships at Switchfly. So Lucy, please introduce yourself. Tell us about yourself today.
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name's Lucy Mui. I am the market manager here at Switchfly, overseeing all of our supplier partnerships. So anything from hotels to cars to activities, I have my hand in those partnerships, making sure that our customers get what we're trying to sell, making sure that the relationship is healthy, and Switchfly continues to be able to offer the best products.
And you were telling us before we started recording that you're a bit of a solo traveler yourself. So give us a little bit of your travel history. Where have you been? What's your favorite trip?
Oh, wow. That's kind of a hard question because I've been on so many. So I've been to probably about 50 countries. Most of them were solo. And my favorite trip, that's hard because there's so many. But a recent one I took was, I spent 2 weeks in Taiwan. And, everyone thinks of Taiwan as just Taipei, but it's got amazing nature. I went there to do some hiking, to, of course, eat, because Taiwan's got some amazing cuisine, and to actually practice my Mandarin because it's a little rusty right now.
So I would love to travel to that region of the world. I've never been more east than Istanbul, so I've got some further ways to go, depending on how you define east and west, because the globe is a circle.
It's a big circle.
It's a big circle. Yeah, anyways, okay. So tell us a little bit about your definition or your understanding or description of solo travel, and how that might, distinguish from more of a traditional travel adventure. Because we know that, a lot of people are kind of taking these trips to think more about like their interests, their journeys, and just kind of embarking on their own thing. And so when you think like when people are defining their own itinerary around something that they would like to do by themselves, why is that an important trend for you? And how do you think about that?
Well, there's all kinds of trips and travel styles out there. My definition of solo travel and why I love to do it specifically, it's, there's a lot of places that I want to go to that may not be on everyone's bucket list or travel destination, ideal travel destination. And for me, I think travel really broadens your understanding of yourself, the world. So specifically, I don't want to wait for someone to say, I'll go here with you. So I've taken a lot of solo trips because I feel like if I don't do it now, I might not be able to do it. And having to wait for someone, it doesn't always happen, right? Like it could be from, waiting for someone to say, I want to see the show with you, and then tickets sell out. So if I want to do something, I do it. If I want to go to China in December, I'm just going to book that flight. Right. And the world's a lot more connected than it used to be. So everything's a lot easier.
So that's amazing. I'm very jealous and would love to do a China trip in December, especially when it's freezing cold here. But do you, when you're booking your trips, is it kind of location first? Is there somewhere specific you want to go? Or do you see what's available and kind of sort by price? Do you think of an adventure you'd like to do and then kind of hone in on it that way? How do you go about booking your travel?
It really depends. For this specific trip that's coming up, it's been over a decade since I've been back to China, and I felt like it's time. I also have my sister and my brother-in-law recently went back to Macau, which is right next to Hong Kong and China, and they did a little kind of like homecoming trip. So I felt like I should do the same. And having recently been to Taiwan, which is so close to China, I felt like it's another opportunity for me to practice my Chinese. I speak Mandarin and Cantonese and a local dialect called Taisan. And also, it's a trip that's just been on my bucket list for a long time.
You're going by yourself.
I am going by myself.
Amazing.
China has changed a lot. I even from like a decade ago, it's a country that's rapidly changed. It's so well connected now. Everything's done through an app. So the fear of doing it alone it's not an issue. Especially if I speak the language. Reading and writing may be a different story, but I could at least communicate with locals. And there's an app for everything.
It's funny, the more you learn about China, the more, fascinating it is. But as a kid, you think like, oh, people in China speak Chinese. And then you realize, oh, well, no, there's Mandarin and Cantonese. Oh, no, wait, there's like 1,000 dialects of each of them, right? Like the language thing alone must be difficult to navigate.
It is. Even so, one of the things that I do here is I oversee this little strip on our homepage featuring a couple of hotels, and I do the marketing text for that and select certain hotels that kind of fit with the theme that we're doing for that month. And I have to do the translations into the different languages that we support. One of the languages is Chinese, and in the tool that we use, there's traditional Chinese and simplified Chinese. At the very beginning, I had to clarify with the team, like, what's the Chinese version that we, the of script that we use. Anyway, it's simplified Chinese that we
Can
support.
Claude help you with this, or is AI
Yes.
just? Okay, that's great. Good to know. Okay, you never know.
Google everything.
And Noel, every time we're on the episode together, he talks about how complex travel is because of all these very, very specific, either it's a currency or, the exchange rates and the regulations and compliance issues regarding, the different localities. It's just always such a difficulty. So yeah, I love that you have some expertise in that area. So I know that, we talked about how this is a growing trend of people traveling more by themselves. And I think exactly what you said is, there's an app for everything, whether you're trying to translate something or you're trying to pay or hail an Uber, whatever it is, you getting around is a lot easier if you have a smartphone than it was, 10 or 20 years ago. My wife talks about when she studied abroad in Italy 15 years ago that she had to use a map, and try to get her way around. Whereas now it's, of course you don't need any of that. You just need your phone. So I know it's kind of reduced that risk. But another component is this idea of soft adventure. And so this idea that maybe because of that reduced fear or risk, people are more willing to be a little bit more adventurous. Now, I am not the adventurous sort. I like to sit in my chair with a coffee and a blanket, even when I'm abroad. But some people like to have a little bit more adventurous spirit. So tell us about how you think of this trend, soft adventure, and how you think about having an adventurous trip when you're solo traveling.
Sure. So when I was younger, I was more of the true adventure seeker type traveler. I've done the Everest Base Camp trek many years ago, and that was 12 days of suffering. Amazing suffering, but 12 days of that.
Basic suffering.
Takes its
quite a
toll on
term.
you. But now I still incorporate a lot of hiking into my trips. But now, for example, I'll go hike in the Alps or the Dolomites, and I'll base myself out of a small town while I'll do a day hike or take the cable car because that's available. Get to the peak and then, feel some sort of accomplishment. I've seen the peaks. I've seen the nature that's there. And then hike back down or take the cable car back down and enjoy a delicious 3-course meal at a Michelin restaurant or some equivalent. That in my mind, it's like where I'm at in my life, that stage in my life where I like to do adventurous things, but at the same time, I love creature comforts as well, right? Gone are the days where I would even fathom doing a 12-day hike where you're sleeping in a tent or, eating dehydrated food.
That is 12 days of suffering to me. I would never.
Yes.
I would never.
No.
Okay, so I want to roll this into the idea of the main character trip as well. So when you think of like, you have this passion or this interest, or you want to go to this kind of off the beaten path spot that most people don't think of or want to go, or nobody's raising their hand to go. Why do you think this idea that we're seeing on social media of the main character trip is resonating with travelers right now? What's the thing underneath the thing, if you will?
I think it's important. Like, social media has made everything so easy now, right? You can find an influencer that caters to everyone's different tastes. And we're living in a world that's so connected and a little crazy at times that it's important, to be able to really just kind of step back and think of what exactly makes you happy. What are the experiences that you've always wanted to do? What are the things you've always wanted to see? Like in the past, vacations have always been like, it's all about sightseeing. Now it's more about, if I go to Italy, I want to take that cooking class with Nona, right? I want to learn how to tango. If I'm a terrible dancer, but I want to learn how to tango if I'm in Argentina. Doing doing experiences that make you feel more like you're part of the local culture. You're experiencing something that an Italian or Argentinian may do, and you're doing it on your own schedule. You have no one else you have to answer to if the class was terrible. It's okay, right?
That's right.
You're accountable for what happens, and I've had trips that have gone wrong, and it's okay.
Sometimes those make the best stories.
Yes, that is very true. That is very true. The off the beaten path, I didn't mean to go here, or I got randomly connected to this stranger who led me to this place and it just turned out amazing. I've got tons of those stories.
Yeah, exactly.
To weigh in, I think, Lucy, you're absolutely right. And Brandon, even in the way you frame the question, as far as the social media aspect of just our day-to-day lives and finding, whether you call them influencers or channels or whatever that can speak to your work, can speak to your hobbies, can speak to your day-to-day life, as well as, your aspirations for travel as well. There's so much external influence. I was thinking when we were prepping for this episode about 100 years ago, taking a European trip for an American, it was a luxury, only for the upper class. That would take weeks, if not months of time, that it wasn't just, college kids couldn't take a long weekend and go to Rome or whatever. Like the availability and connectedness that Lucy keeps talking about is like, it's almost unreal as far as the travel opportunities we have compared to 30, 50, 100 years ago, and I think it's wonderful. I think it's helping a lot of people learn a lot of new things, but it definitely comes with its own unique challenges. But I, like Lucy, love to just sort of throw a dart at the board and take off somewhere every now and then by myself, because I think those can be the most rewarding trips.
I 100% agree. And also having I just have a plane ticket booked right now, right? And I'm not going for a while, but the months leading up to it, the planning stage of it,
Yeah.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
Some people hate trip planning, but I love it so much.
agree.
It's like my passion, and it'll fuel me through the next couple of months.
Why do you love it so much?
I love it so much because I'm controlling my itinerary fully, right? You have these package holidays out there, for example, right? Where you'll hit all the main highlights. But for me, maybe those aren't the destinations that I want to go to, or my what I'm seeking is different than someone taking that specific trip. And being able to plan the best restaurants I could possibly eat at in a destination, where I want to stay in the heart of like the city or somewhere more quiet. In Hong Kong, there's a bunch of places you can stay at, but I'm quite specific. And the planning stage, it's just kind of gives me that fuel. Like it paints this amazing trip that I have coming up in December, and gives me something to look forward to. It's as simple as that. It's a privilege to be able to travel, and I fully embrace that. And working for a travel company, I get to look at hotels. I get to look at everything, right, that's related to travel. So I'm definitely in the right field, in terms of profession. But it's also just is an amazing luxury.
I wholeheartedly agree. I also just love that planning stage. I have like spreadsheets from travels past of like mapped out, okay, the 3rd through the 5th I'm going to be here, and like a list of things underneath that I've found that would be fun to do. And yeah, no, I totally agree.
And with AI, it's so easy to plan your trips.
Yeah.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right. Yeah, it's super helpful to we've talked about this on the show before, but to be able to create, just kind of brain dump all these things that you want to get out of a trip, and help and allow AI to help you arrange it. Maybe, what's the fastest way? If I wanted to do this and this, is there a route that actually makes sense, that's not going to be overly delayed, that kind of thing? It can be really, really helpful. But then having your expertise, that you've been there, it helps a little bit to say like, no, I want this very, very specific thing that you don't know about. That could be really great as well.
I think the soft adventure part of it too, along with kind of, the solo travel, is you don't necessarily always know how you're going to feel day to day, right? And if you're doing a big tour or, group travel thing, and you have certain things happening on this agenda, maybe I don't want to go to a museum today. Maybe I want to just kind of lounge around at the beach instead, or, whatever, vice versa. It gives you that flexibility to sort of throw all those plans out the window and do something else if you want also.
That's right. Or if you do go to a museum, let's say the Musée d'Orsay in Paris, and you actually want to sit and read the placards at all of the art pieces while your wife doesn't and just keeps going, just hypothetically speaking, not that I would know from experience, but you can actually sit and read the placards if you want, if you're by yourself, which would be really great.
You're on your own schedule.
Yeah,
right?
I love that. I think that the theme that I'm hearing in this conversation is around connection, and that is, travel allows you to connect with other cultures and the world at large, of course. But social media, despite so much of the discussion, a lot of it warranted, about how it creates so much division, it actually creates a lot of connection as well. Of course, that is its promise. There's so many trips that I've been on where we're doing specific things simply because we saw them on social media. Going to the London market, for example, and seeing a particular stall that we saw on social media, or going to a particular vendor in Italy because we saw it on social media. And you're allowed to connect, obviously, to other people as well when you're traveling, which it's like people feel less like strangers. But then at the same time, you're allowed to connect with yourself. I think that's such a great thing about this main character trip idea, is that you are the main character, and you're just kind of reconnecting with yourself, like Lucy, reconnecting with your past, your ancestors, your family in different ways, even by going by yourself. And I think it's such a cool theme to think about, a solo travel trip actually making you feel like you're less alone.
Exactly. And I think also for me, at least, when I am traveling by myself, at a certain point, I'm like, I just need to meet human beings. I need to talk to other people. I need to socialize. I'm a lot more receptive to the idea of talking to a stranger or getting out of my usual comfort zone. I live in New York, for example, right? If I'm on the subway, you don't talk to anybody. You're just kind of looking at your phone. If someone talks to you, you're like, what do they want from me? Or, that he's a weirdo or whatever the case may be. But if I'm sitting on the subway in Japan and someone tries to talk to me, I'm all for that. I want to talk to a local. I want to hear what what you have to say. So I tend to let my guard down a little bit and just take in my surroundings a lot more. I'm a lot more focused. There's not a million things going on in my head, and talking to a stranger, you can find out so much. You could learn about what are some great restaurants you can eat at, in the destination that you're at, or just make a new friend. I have this one experience. This is a couple of years ago, before COVID, actually just right before COVID. I had taken a trip to Southern Africa, and I was in Victoria Falls. I was with the group because Africa is one of those places that it's really hard to do solo traveling. But I had a couple of hours to myself, and there was like a specific place that I wanted to see, which was this bridge that connected Victoria Falls on the Zimbabwe side to Zambia. And so I was trying to find my way from my hotel to see the Zambian side, even though I'm not going over the bridge. I just wanted to say, oh, I saw Zambia. So I got a little lost, and I asked a police officer, can you show me the way? And so then we struck up a conversation. He's like, where are you from? Which is the first question most people ask, right? Where are you from? You look Chinese, but you sound American. Anyway, we started chatting. He's like, I'll just take you where you need to go. It wasn't very far, but he's a police officer, and he was just going to walk me to my destination. And long story short, we got to the place. So it's like, let's take a selfie together. So I have a selfie with this man. We exchanged numbers to be able to communicate on WhatsApp, even though at that point I was just like, oh, it's never going to happen. I'll give you my number. But when COVID happened, he was constantly texting me because he read in the news or saw in the news that there was all this stuff happening in New York. And he was just checking in on a random stranger he met, in his hometown.
That's awesome. I love that story. That is exactly the point of travel, is connecting with people you would never have reached out to otherwise.
And Brandon, I mean, we've talked about that a lot on the show, of like, one of the best parts of travel is just sort of realizing wherever you go, people are just people, right? Like there's so many similarities and connections you can make. And like Lucy going to Southern China, I'm sure I would stand out quite a bit more than you as far
definitely
as
not.
initially. But like, I guarantee I could go there and find people with the same interests and the same senses of humor and value systems and all that stuff. And even though some of the like more superficial language and things like that might be difficult to connect with initially, once you sort of get beyond that, you're just dealing with regular people that you would literally meet next door, the exact same people in a different circumstance. So I've always loved that about travel also.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you just have to find that one connection, right? Like, besides travel, which I'm very passionate about, my other passion when I'm in New York, it's pickleball. Oh. And the last couple of trips that I've taken, I've played pickleball in Vietnam. I've played pickleball in Taiwan. I've played pickleball when I was in Osaka. Right? In Vietnam, I specifically, found a place and connected with some people via Facebook, and they invited me to join their group. Most of them didn't speak English, but playing pickleball, you just need to know how to score, right?
Yeah.
And 3 hours together, we were like friends afterwards, right? They offered me their snacks and gave me recommendations of where I should go eat in Hanoi. And we connected on Instagram, and someday they might come visit me. And I said, we'll go play pickleball here in New York.
I can see
So-
it now. The
Awesome.
beginning of your social media influencer career is playing pickleball on all 7 continents. And it's a
Yeah.
great Instagram challenge,
or or even just like the Asian, hemisphere content expert on pickleball. Where to go in Asia for pickleball?
Someday.
Yeah.
That's great. That's
Someday.
great.
I'll check
I
that
love it.
off.
I love it. I love it. No, yeah, it proves a point that the world is smaller than we think. We're a lot more alike than we think, and traveling helps you see that, especially when you travel solo. Because I think to your point, Lucy, I love what you said, that people have lower barriers when they're traveling abroad. When I went to London last, people kept asking me about politics. What was our political situation like in America? Whereas if I'm in Dallas and somebody's asking me that, it's like, I don't know where this conversation's going. But overseas,
Yeah.
it's kind of fun to just they just want to get to know you, and they're curious, and it's just like a fun conversation. So
One point to quibble with: there's never been any such event as a weirdo talking to you on the subway in New York City. That has never happened once ever.
never, yeah, that's not been
Yeah.
my experience at all. Well, as we close, I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about thinking of our audience, which are mostly travel leaders and loyalty program leaders. What is your view or advice for them when you're thinking about solo travel, this main character trip idea? What do you think about how that trend relates to their work when they're thinking about building programs or thinking about inventory and their travel, programs or the itineraries that they might be building? What does that mean to you? How do you think through that? And what advice would you have for them?
I think a lot of the partners that we work with, Travel Redemptions is just a small component of the offerings that they may have that their employees can redeem. I personally feel like there should be more emphasis on promoting that you do have this program that's out there. Your employees work hard and you've awarded them these points. Travel is like one of the best ways to incentivize them, right? Like, they'll go on their vacation and they'll come back just with, refreshed and possibly with, a different attitude or perspective and learnings. So I don't think there's enough emphasis right now on just promoting some of the travel benefits that are available to their employees. Gift cards are nice, but the satisfaction that you will get from redeeming points for, a cooking class in Hong Kong or in Sicily, that's going to stick with you a lot longer than that $50 Amazon gift card that I then use to redeem, toothpaste or whatever it may be.
She buys really nice toothpaste. If you didn't-
Yes.
$50.
A lot. In bulk.
That's a great point. Do you think that technology or kind of the way that a lot of the industry is kind of evolving now, do you see that as helping create personalized recommendations or unique experiences like what you're saying? As kind of a leading question, but just the idea of like there are new ways to create these kind of experiences, especially for solo travelers trying to build their own custom itinerary for things that matter to them. Do you think that there's some kind of like interplay there that you're seeing with your data, your partners, the platform, anything like that might help them think about new ways to create travel?
I think not specifically Switchfly, but in general, a lot of the websites that are out there, they cater more to like 2 people traveling or couples, right? Like, there's always some sort of fee if you're going alone. You're paying for a double room, and it's solo travel. A solo traveler is going to look for something different than a couple. A couple traveling together, right? So that's one. Like there's just everything that's out there for the most part. It's designed for more than one traveler. Another one is the way I travel specifically. When you're, you're going to save if you bundle a hotel and flight together. But I don't know of any websites that allow you, let's say, to book your flight to my 3-week flight to Hong Kong, but I want to book a stay as well, but it's going to ask you to book 3 weeks in Hong Kong, and that's not what I want to do.
Yeah.
You want to be able to have that flexibility to, okay, I want to still save on my hotels because that's the point of booking a bundle, but allow me to break up my itinerary so that I can go 3 days in Hong Kong, 3 days in Macau, the rest of the trip, in different places in China, right? Having that flexibility. Maybe there are websites out there that do this, but I've been in this industry for many years and I don't know of any.
I know we've tried to do some of that. I believe working with some of our product team on the platform, there is some kind of ways to do that. I don't know exactly how front and center that availability, that functionality is, but no, you're totally right. I mean, I think flexibility in general is just a huge part of the personalization aspect of travel offerings, right? Like being able to modify, certain packaged items to fit your needs a little better. And with the rise of AI assisted travel booking and on personalization, I think hopefully we're going to see a lot more of that.
Yeah, websites are definitely getting smarter. They know a lot about me. And, when I return to those websites, on Switchfly, I know a lot of what is on the homepage is personalized based on, my searches. So if I'm searching for Hong Kong, it's going to offer me, here are some price drops at hotels that are in Hong Kong, or here are some activities that are available. And, that's evolved so much since when I first started doing solo trips, of the days of carrying a Lonely Planet around and looking at the different sections for recommendations on hotels, restaurants. It's come a long way, but I think knowing everything that it knows about me, some of these websites, which is a lot, the expectations are higher from the consumer, right? When I search for hotels in a city, don't offer me the most expensive hotel because you're going to make the most money, right? I want you to actually offer me something at the top of the search that's Lucy's, gonna buy. Right? We're getting there, but it'll take time.
Takes time. Yeah. I think that's an important point that's a big theme on our show, is loyalty is more than just, discounts on the next buy, right? It's building that holistic sort of ecosystem for travelers to feel like, there's a reason to be loyal to a specific provider.
Yeah.
And offering that. Lucy's exactly right. It's not just, destination personalization, but it's actually real personalization in that, if you're taking a lot of solo trips, it's starting to bubble up the activities and hotels and things that are more aligned with a solo traveler. So yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, that technology is not far away. The future is coming sooner than we think, probably. Typing in a couple of different things about you, where you want to go, and it creates a very, very custom itinerary and a good package. I think, Lucy, it's a great point. You can't get the bundles to get broken up as personalized as you like. That's a hard thing to do. But well, this has been such a good conversation. Lucy, thank you so much for your insight and your wisdom, your expertise in this area based on all your experience doing this over the years. And I know that one day there is going to be a really great pickleball bundle that you're going to build for people. And I'm very excited to see it.
Lucy's package. Yeah.
Lucy's package. This is great. Well, Lucy, thanks so much. I love talking about connection, solo travel, and doing things on your own, but trying to relate to others as well, and other cultures and people around the world. So thank you so much. And I hope to have you back on the show.
thank you.
Definitely.
I hope to
bring
join
Lucy
us
back.
at the point.
Yes.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
Sure.
Ian, always a pleasure. We'll see you guys
Thanks,
next
Brandon.
time.